So I'm going to walk you through the assembly of this Brinly spreader. What you see here is how it came out of the box. So I haven't done anything. I'm just going to walk through the assembly instructions that come with the spreader, and we'll see how that goes. Looks pretty straightforward. Just a few bolts to get this thing fully assembled. So first thing it has us do is remove these bolts from this pivot arm. Those are loose. Okay. Next step is to tilt the arm assembly and insert the rod into the flow control handle. Insert the arm assembly between the frame tubes. Reinstall the pivot and bracket assembly. Next step, it says to tighten nuts and bolts on both sides of the spreader at locations shown. So it looks like it's showing these two areas here. So I'll just go ahead, I'll just go around and make sure everything's nice and snug. Yeah. Okay. Push the flow control handle downward to the fully closed position. Close the shutoff plate under the hopper and hand tighten bottom nut on linkage rod until snug. So we're going to push the handle all the way to the closed position. Close the shutoff plate under the hopper. I have to make an adjustment here. Okay, plate is closed. And hand tighten the bottom nut on the linkage rod until snug. So that's this nut on the bottom here. Okay, I'd call that snug. Then hand tighten the top nut on the linkage rod until snug. Let me just make sure I have, oops. So you want to make sure that top nut has clearance there when tightening the bottom. So one thing I found is when I was snugging up this lower nut, it was wanting to pull rod down, right? So my handle was drifting out of the closed position. So I'd recommend just keeping some downward pressure on your handle and keeping it in the closed position while snugging up this lower nut. Alright, so I got that snug, and I'll snug up the top nut. Okay, next step is to set the edge of the wing nut on the 30 mark and tighten. Okay, move the flow control handle upward and back downward. Upward, back downward, and verify the shutoff plate under the hopper opens and closes properly. If necessary, adjust the linkage rod nuts and tighten. Next step says once adjustment is complete, tighten the lower nut on the linkage rod with the wrench. Okay. And that's it for the assembly of the spreader. So it's really just installing the handle and then making the rod adjustment. The directions say to rotate the spreader on its right side and remove the 2 screws from the left side of the hopper frame. So it's talking about these 2 right here. Install the deflector bracket with the 2 screws provided. Install the deflector onto the deflector bracket with the carriage bolt. Alright, so one side is keyed. This carriage bolt has that square base to it. It does come with 2 small washers, and it makes sense to me that the washer would go in between the 2 plastic elements here. So we'll try that. It may get tricky. Let's see. Got it. Again, there's a wing nut that goes on the back side. That's it. Pretty straightforward there. Go ahead and give you a side-by-side of the new Brinly 50-pound spreader to the Scotts EdgeGuard DLX. I've been using the Scotts all last season, and now that I'm getting pretty comfortable with spreading the granular products on the lawn, I wanted to step up to a spreader that was of higher quality, had the pneumatic wheels, and I'd searched around, looked at a bunch of different models, and ended up with the Brinly. Again, this one has a side deflector, so it has that comparison to the EdgeGuard DLX. 50-pound hopper, pneumatic wheels with the plastic hubs. And one thing I can really appreciate about the Brinly is the taller handle height versus the Scotts Deluxe is really a lower handle. So I will have to get used to the spreader settings on the Brinly. I'll be doing some calibration exercises with different products to try to get an idea of what settings to use when applying the different products. But looks good.